Get ready for back to school with H&M. From mix and match basics to new denim styles, find their favorites for in and out of the classroom at your nearest H&M and on hm.com.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find
and
it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Ooh. Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
This does feel like, if anything, like a sort of spiritual, not sequel, but like a cousin to Fight Club, not just in the product placement and all those other sort of little nods that you referenced, but just the fact that it is just about like sort of living in this stage of capitalism where we're all living in this sort of malaise where we could all just become serial killers just by going on Amazon. Everything we need to become cold and detached, like cold-blooded murderers, is right there.
If you like Fincher and you haven't watched it yet and you've maybe been put off by some of the reviews, just give it a watch. It is pretty fun. It's not that deep.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Today I'm joined by Stephen.
Hello.
Helen.
Hi.
And Alistair.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about The Killer. Thank you as always to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes, and thanks to Ben from Rocket Audio for editing this podcast and all of our episodes. Please do remember to head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and a glowing review. Also, Pocket Casts, you can go there as well if you've got that. Join the conversation with us on social media. We're at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and everywhere else we're on Flixwatcher.
Hello film fans, welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast. Our guests today are Alistair and Stephen. Over to you please, Stephen, to say hello to our listeners and tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Hello there, my name is Stephen Palmer. I'm here representing, two podcasts. Firstly, the Asian Cinema Film Club. I know that my partner in crime over there, Edward Jones, has already been on the show before, so I'm here as a Billy No Mates.
For those of you who can't see, which is everyone, apart from us four in this conversation, there is a Battle Royale poster behind Stephen, so is there...
On brand.
I've got form, yeah absolutely.
But next to that, it looks like it's North by Northwest posters.
It is indeed, yeah. So, well done. They've won the quiz. But yes, so podcast about Asian cinema weekly. And we have branched out. There is now a sub-podcast called The World Cinema Podcast. But basically, if it's subtitles, I'm all about it. The other podcast I do is along with my other co-host, Emily, on Why This Film, where we do all the Barbie animated movies. I'm nothing if not eclectic. So...
How many movies are there?
There's getting on for 40.
Wow.
and we've done most of them. We're on hiatus at the moment, but yeah, there's a good 30-odd episodes out there.
Is the treat to be able to watch the Barbie movie with Ryan Gosling?
So it was very good timing. Like when we started, that wasn't a thing. And then it was a thing. And we have covered the Barbie movie. And then I got very disappointed because it was nothing like the animated movies. And it was about Ken getting red-pilled, which I wasn't expecting. But it was entertaining enough. But yes, so that's the other thing. So I can do everything from kaiju movies to Hong Kong action movies to Barbie's adventures as a mermaid princess.
And when you say Asian, is that Southeast Asian mainly?
Okay, yes, that is a very good point. So we do tend to concentrate on Southeast Asia. So that is absolutely the classics: Hong Kong, mainland China, Thailand, Taiwan, big bit of South Korea. And we've done a North Korean movie as well, thinking about it. Cambodia, Vietnam, but we extend out to the Philippines. We have done an Indian movie before, but I think that's probably that's a whole set of genres on itself. But yes, mostly Southeast Asian. And in the world cinema version, we go anywhere except for America.
So you go to the UK as well?
So, spoilers when we get to my movie, I'm massive on UK movies as well. That's one of my other passions.
In the UK, there are some, UK and Ireland, I should say, because that leans into that bit. There are films in the local languages, aren't there, sometimes, which
absolutely.
Like The Guard, for example, which was like mainly in Irish, which was a long...
And I think there's a film in the Welsh language that got all a bit complicated about whether it could be put up for a foreign language Oscar once, wasn't there? And so, yeah, absolutely, we could cover that. But as I've got a lot of English and British films through, I don't think anyone's checking.
Alistair, who are you?
Hello, so I'm Alistair Ryder. I am a writer for Zavvi by day. I interviewed like the great and good of the film and TV world, and by night I criticised their work as a freelance critic for the likes of the Film Stage, Awards Watch, and a few other sites.
Fantastic. So Zavvi being the natural replacement for Virgin Megaland, what was it called?
Yes, many years ago
What was it called? Virgin
Megastore. Yeah,
Megastore. There you go.
And then replaced them and then went under themselves, but now exist as a sort of online retailer which has a movie and TV blog, which is where I get to write about all things pop culture.
Fair enough. I used to not like Virgin Megastore because I was very much a HMV price kid, and when Virgin Megastore appeared, I was like, no.
You're a purist.
But in Sheffield, they used to have the acoustic gigs there, and one of the acoustic gigs that turned up was Muse after their first album, just doing an impromptu. There was like 30 people in this Virgin Megastore. So after that, I warmed to them a little bit.
I'm going to say our price. You've dated yourself there.
Oh, 100%.
I haven't thought about our price for about 30 years.
Now I've moved back to where I kind of grew up, and when I go into Stockport town centre and I go past the place where our price used to be, I'm like, it was never that good. But it was a place to get music.
Where I come from in West Sussex, it was the only place to get music. So we didn't have anything else, no HMV, no Virgins. It was just an independent shop and our price.
We didn't have that many indies. So yeah, our price was the way. I mean, we're talking about music. Music is very much ingrained into this film in ways you may or may not be pleased with, depending on your taste in music. But that is the killer, and you've chosen it, Alistair. Can you tell us, first of all, why you've chosen it? And then we've got 60 seconds in which to give the synopsis.
So before I give the synopsis, there were two reasons why I chose this movie. One for personal taste and one for practicality. The practicality is the fact that this is a Netflix original movie and it's very much the top tier of the Netflix original movie. So I didn't really need to worry about choosing something that would just disappear entirely from the algorithm.
So it's like tactical. So you're like, let's...
It was a tactical one. And also, I only saw this movie once when it came out. So it was, again, just a sort of an excuse to rewatch a movie that I just really responded to. I found such... sort of not just a great thriller, but also just a very great dark comedy in the way that so many of David Fincher's movies are. And so being able to just revisit it, having that excuse, things went hand in hand.
Wow. So, what's the synopsis?
So, the synopsis is Michael Fassbender stars as the killer. He's an unnamed hitman. We first are introduced to him in Paris. He is staked out in a WeWork office to try and take down someone in an apartment building opposite. We hear pretty much exclusively his inner monologue for the first 15 minutes, telling us how he does this job successfully, what you need to do to have the perfect aim, the perfect mindset. And then he completely fails the hit. And the person who ordered the hit has been asked, do you want to get rid of, the failed assassin? They've said yes. So he is now on the run, trying to get one over, trying to get ahead of the people who are wanting to take him out, which takes him all around the world, to the Dominican Republic, to New Orleans, back to, basically back to where he started. Yeah, that's the killer. It does what it says on the tin.
That's the time up.
Yeah, as I was giving that synopsis, I was like, I'm spending so much time on the opening 15 minutes. I need to hurry. And then all structure of synopsis went out of my head.
Well, the opening 15 minutes is the proper scene setter here, isn't it? And it subverts what you think is going to happen. Because in any other sniper film where there's someone, I'm not saying sniper film, any other film where you're focused on the person who's one of the top people in the film and they're telling you how their process, you're like, okay, this is how they do it. They're going to execute it perfectly. And when he fluffs it the last second, you're like, oh shit. What's
Yeah.
That then properly does kick off the rest of the film, which is, for me, it was a really interesting way to start.
Yeah. And again, I think it just feeds into the dark comedy of it all. Because, here he is, he's this jaded guy, and underlining the fact that he's, this jaded, alienated guy is the fact that he's listening to the Smiths constantly, which is just almost like a stereotype of, the sort of the disaffected man. But yeah, it's just the perfect sort of way to set up character and all the sort of the mechanics of the thriller whilst essentially keeping the audience away from them. It's a Netflix movie, and on a platform that requires people to, immediately lock in because they could, click off and watch something else at any given moment. It's quite daring and risky to open with essentially 15 minutes of monologue, just scene setting about the job itself not giving you the satisfaction of him doing the job, just his process to get into the mindset.
What are your thoughts, Stephen?
Well, I am the son and the heir of a shyness that is criminally vulgar. I bloody love the Smiths, so that bit...
Do you still allow it in your... I mean, post-Morrissey, it's still acceptable?
Is modern-day Morrissey acceptable?
Okay.
I did see him in Birmingham a couple of years ago. I tried to divorce the art from the man, but we have to do that a lot these days, don't we?
Unfortunately, yeah.
But absolutely, 80s era Smith, that's my jam. That was the bit of this movie that I enjoyed.
Oh, wow.
And I hate that I'm going to piss at Alistair's joy.
No, I wish someone has to.
No. I'm a big fan of David Fincher. I really like David Fincher's work. I'll even defend Alien 3. I saw that at the cinema. I was the only person in Brighton Marina cinema the day that came out to watch that. So I'll defend that. That's just like... but I found this movie... It's more than competent. That's unfair. It's not incompetently put together. It's really well made. I think there are much better assassin movies. There are better assassin movies where the assassination goes wrong. Day of the Jackal. And I felt it was structurally really disappointing. I felt it was it was very linear and episodic. I assume that comes from its comic book background, which it felt in some ways incredibly unambitious. However, Fassbender is brilliant. Every character that he comes across is really interesting. I think the flaw for me was its execution. I found it kind of, that's a bit disappointing. There's nothing clever going on. There's one or two little visual tricks, like when he orders stuff off Amazon and the Amazon thing comes up on the screen. Yeah, I like stuff like that, and there wasn't enough of it for me. Sorry.
Ellen, did the Smiths redeem it or put us down a peg or two for you?
So, no surprise if you listened to this podcast before that I'm a big David Finch fan. I really loved this. I was surprised with people who didn't enjoy it, but I did. Really liked it. I think the soundtrack is great. I really like the use of the Smiths. I am slightly scared how well Michael Fassbender plays this very cold killer. I just love his little organised storage locker. I'm just like obsessed with him keeping all like his passports in those individual wallets. Absolutely love it.
One of the things I like about these kind of spy stroke people who are covert is how super organised they tend to be. Because he said he had 6 storage lockers. In that one, he had at least 10 sets of money and passports.
And license plates and everything, yeah.
And all his identities are names of sitcom characters.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, things like Archie Bunker. Yeah, they're all from American sitcoms.
Who's Archie?
So Archie Bunker is the American version of, what's the guy that Warren Mitchell played? You know, the racist fella, Alf Garnett. But Archie Bunker is the lead character in All in the Family. And there's others. There's about 5 or 6 different roles he plays. And they're all like, one of them's from the Brady Bunch, the main guy from the Brady Bunch. He has his name. So I thought that was kind of cool that his identities have been drawn from pop culture.
But quite like in Fight Club as well, where Cornelius is from Planet of the Apes and there's the names that the narrator gives himself and everything. So I don't know, for me, this kind of felt a little bit like the closest he's come to Fight Club in the style and the product placement and things like that. But yeah, it was quite funny. I watched this and then obviously like Hitman came out quite close after, a film which says hitmen don't really exist, which I thought was quite amusing having recently watched this.
Well, it says you can't hire hitmen just off the internet. That's what the main thing is. Hitmen do exist, but you can't just walk up and say, can you kill someone for me?
Which in this film does make it look surprisingly easy about being able to hire someone if you have the money. And also I was reading about Brad Pitt was offered this, but he considered it too nihilistic. So thank goodness that we had Michael Fassbender on hand to play this slightly terrifying German tourist kind of vibe.
Yeah, Brad Pitt having made Seven and Fight Club with David Fincher, but this is where he's crossing the line. Yeah, this is too far. But no, I do sort of agree with everything that you're saying. This does feel like, if anything, like a sort of spiritual, not sequel, but like a cousin to Fight Club, not just in the product placement and all those other sort of little nods that you referenced, but just the fact that it is just about like sort of living in this stage of capitalism where we're all living in this sort of malaise where we could all just become serial killers just by going on Amazon. Like everything we need to become cold and detached, like cold-blooded murderers, is right there at our fingertips, essentially. And that's, sort of the commentary that I think takes this from, sort of a relatively straightforward hitman thriller into something, a bit more substantial, into something that is very much in the top tier of Fincher's filmography.
This is top tier Finch for you?
I think it is. Like, I think this rewatch certainly helped push it there. Yeah, but I mean, every other Fincher film is top tier, and then the tier below it is just pretty good.
Mank.
Yeah.
Honestly, I rewatched Mank a couple of years ago. It was better than when I watched it during COVID. I've settled into it now.
I've still not seen Mank. We've had quite a few Finchers on here.
Yeah, our current top film on our Flixwatcher leaderboard is Fight Club, but we've had 7 as well, and that's it. So we've had. This will be number 3, I think.
Is this on number 3? Interesting.
Yes, because we've not had Gone. Gone Girl keeps coming and going on Netflix, but no one has picked it. So future guests.
I forget that's a Fincher.
Has nobody picked Social Network?
Oh yes, we have that. So that's 4.
I thought we had another one. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
And also, because Fincher's got an interesting relationship with Netflix, and one that I like, but also I'm like, we're going to have more of your films properly in the cinema, mate, before it goes to Netflix. Because he's got the tie-in, I guess, Once Time in Hollywood Part 2, which is going to be on Netflix. Helen's kind of grimacing.
I just can't. I'm sorry. I thought it was an April Fool's. It's not.
It was announced on the 1st of April. And Mindhunter, which I find absolutely astonishing. And recently there's rumbles of trying to do 3 films to close it out. But
yes.
But I was like...
got a 4-film deal with Netflix. So he's done 2. Presumably that...
No, well, Mindhunter, I prefer it to be a TV series. But if it's films, I think it needs to be a couple to close out because the story is so in-depth and deep in that.
I think after making us wait years after the second season of Mindhunter for 3 films and then only being able to make 2 of them because his deal runs out would be... I think that David Fincher's twisted sense of humour would really love just keeping us constantly anticipating the end of this thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking top tier Fincher. Zodiac.
Yeah.
So we've had that as well. So yeah, Zodiac, Social Network. So this will be the 5th one.
And many more to come.
Now, same that we've had on Flixwatcher. He's a really interesting director for me because he's not really showy-offy, but he's super classy at the same time, right? There's like a finesse to him, isn't there? That I think is hard to beat.
I'm not sure I agree.
You think he's showy-offy?
No, not showy-offy, but I think he is capable of really interesting, maybe showy-offy a little bit, but think things like Fight Club, especially. He's got some really clever stuff.
Yeah, Fight Club is definitely, yeah.
And I think 7 as well, with its construction of the death scenes and things like that, are really good. I think things like Gone Girl are fine. I think this is fine. He is very lucky. No, he's not very lucky. He obviously has actors desperate to, really good people wanting to come work for him.
Oh, yeah.
Even in this film, we've talked about the Smith soundtrack, but also it's got a fantastic sort of grainy, lo-fi Trent Reznor soundtrack that contrasts with that. So I know he's worked with Reznor before.
Yeah, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah. Again, I think he also has done a lot of adaptations. So Fight Club, whoever wrote this is no Chuck Palahniuk, right? Whoever, he's done Gone Girl, he's done what you just mentioned.
Social Network.
Yeah, Social Network, I guess that was based on a book, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that is a thing he seems to do. And I do think I would struggle. Maybe this is a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, Zodiac was based on Jake Gyllenhaal's character as well. And yeah.
Yeah, it was based on a book that was written. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think I would struggle to say, what is a David Fincher movie?
That's what I was trying to say. It's classy, but it's difficult to pin down. But if someone says David Fincher is making a film, I'm like, you're in very safe hands. But that sounds like it's almost
damning with faint praise, right?
Yeah. But it's like you could be in for a real treat because some of his films, I did really like Social Network. I really love Girl with Dragon Tattoo. I feel sorry that they couldn't complete the trilogy because I love those series of books. 7 and Fight Club are fucking astonishing films. So you always he's got something there which is brilliant, but also it's like, how do you classify him? He's not a Wes Anderson, where as soon as you see one frame, you're like, that's Wes. that's fine. It's not a Tarantino where there's dialogue and things which are specifically, this is a Tarantino film. There's, you know, naked ladies' feet at some point in the film. So, but it's great. Every time Fincher make a new film, I'm excited, I'm interested, I'm going to be there, right?
I think the thing that is distinctive to him is the dark comedy. I think that he has a sort of more wicked sense of humour that sort of like puts him like maybe like the closest heir apparent to Alfred Hitchcock, certainly in terms of like people who constantly keep going back to the thriller genre. And I think that, you know, this is kind of the mode that, even though not all of Fincher's movies are thrillers, this is when he is at his most recognisable, I think, is a film like The Killer, where it does feel like this in my head is what a David Fincher movie is. It's a trashy thriller delivered with class and just this complete nihilistic sense of humour.
They're always very slick as well, like even in the beginning, which probably comes from his music background. But I always feel that I could always get the sense that I am watching a Fincher film when I'm in it, because everything is just so considered in terms of like how his framing and the shadows and darkness. His films kind of move a lot in darkness. There's always a lot of darkness and shadows, and also like his use of music as well, in particular like his later collaborations with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, like that. I think they maybe that combination sets his films out more so now recently with having that kind of sound.
And to be fair, talk about, you mentioned Hitchcock. The first 15 minutes of this are a kind of reverse version of Rear Window, right? So instead of watching it from the detective's point of view and being quite static, we're watching all these windows and lots of things are going on. Yes, it's a killer this time and it's a lot more dynamically, but, you know, he knows his film history. He knows exactly what he's doing. It just goes in a slightly different way. So, yeah, I feel I'm being very down on him when actually I've enjoyed a whole bunch of his movies.
It's all right. I'm sure he's a well-balanced human being.
Do you think he'll get over it?
Do you
think he'll get over it?
Yeah.
Hank's the family fixer, always with his tool belt. But living with prostate cancer, he needed help. He asked his doctor about Xtandi and enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
When the McLaren F1 team counts on speed, they count on Dropbox Dash. Dash finds what you need fast across all your work apps, so you can focus on what matters. Learn more at Dropbox.com/McLaren F1.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV Insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
I mean, my thing is, whenever I read about David Fincher's like perfectionism, though, that he takes like 100 takes of every single scene, and there were stories of Steven Soderbergh, another great director, like having David Fincher come round to his house, and he put on a DVD of Panic Room, one of David Fincher's movies, and David Fincher just left. He's like, I cannot be around that movie. I cannot watch. There's something wrong in every single frame, and it just seems like he's like that with every single one of his movies. Like he's such a perfectionist.
He's the killer.
I'd forgotten about Panic.
Yeah.
He is the killer. This is the most imagined David Fincher. If there was a David Fincher character that was most like him, I think it's probably the killer.
So does that mean that the hit that fails for David Fincher was Mank?
Probably.
This is an allegory for David
Or
Fincher's
he'd probably
life.
say Panic Room if he can't watch Panic Room,
Yeah.
which I like.
Oh no, I think Panic Room is great. I don't know if any of you saw, but recently he did like a 4K restoration of Seven, and people on Twitter did frame by frame comparisons because David Fincher he went mad trying to clean things up. There was like loads of shots with just dust in the background, and he just went mad just cleaning everything up so it was just completely pristine. He just seems one of these people that it needs to look perfect and clean, even if it is just this dark and gritty movie.
And does that sometimes make, maybe this is my problem with it, that sometimes makes some of his movies look a bit antiseptic and that it is all a bit perfect and it is all a bit perfectionist. I'm coming from my Asian cinema world. What the film, Wong Kar-wai does this, right? He's made some of the most amazing films of all time and then obsessively goes back to the fucking things and changes them and...
changes the entire colour palette.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder if there's some kind of commonality that all we need is Chris Doyle now to sort of lens the David Fincher movie and it will be complete. But yeah, and maybe that's something about what you have to be a really good director. Yeah. You can't just do it from the hip. You've got to have this vision.
Yeah, don't improvise. That's what the killer keeps saying. Don't improvise.
I thought this is quite interesting from a Fincher film and also similar to Kubrick when there is a bit of action because there was quite a substantial fight scene in this. And I thought that's out of the ordinary for Fincher films. Oh no, apart from Fight Club. But there was an extended fight scene which I thought was really good and well staged. And I was like, if he can't have done many retakes of this must have been well rehearsed and then...
Wasn't a lot of this completely CGI'd though?
There was quite a lot of it. I'm not sure about the fight, but yeah, a lot of the Paris stuff and the external stuff. But yeah, I mean, I would imagine he probably did quite a lot of takes of the fight, even that, which is spectacularly bloody.
He will have just done 100 takes of the TV showing Antiques Roadshow in the background.
Was it UK Antiques Roadshow? Was it?
It was UK Antiques Roadshow. That was Fiona Bruce speaking. Because the first time I saw this, it was at a London Film Festival screening, and the place just erupted when Antiques Roadshow was on. That's the one British connection in this movie.
Is there anything else guys want to say before we head to the scores?
This film didn't get him any Oscar noms. It's one of 4 films that he's not had any for.
Well, it's not surprising, is it? First of all, I think Netflix films have to be like beyond reproach to be considered, and it seems to have split reviews.
I've never seen a letterbox set of scores that are so
polarizing, yeah,
varied. Yeah, they are so disparate between the 1s and the 5s.
Should we head to the scores?
I'm Sam Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have included fellow Stripped Media family members Martin and Sam from Song by Song, and Kobe from Flixwatcher, and Dave from The Wire Stripped. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com.
Welcome to our Flixwatcher scores. They are always out of 5 and you can have decimal places. And we'll start with you with the recommendability, Alistair, because you picked it.
So for recommendability, I will go 4.2 because it's the strongest I can go whilst realising that, yeah, this isn't for everybody. It's not even for the people who found previous David Fincher films that accessible. But I think that there's far more here than the sort of the standard hitman thriller that it looks like from the outside.
4.2. Stephen?
I'm going to give it a 3.5 because I think there are far better assassin films. But it is really well made. It is really well cast. It is really well acted. And although I sound like I've been dumping on it from a great height, I really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's this. I'm going to be honest with you, I'd never even heard of it. I missed the release of this. I was quite surprised, possibly because it turned up on Netflix and there didn't seem to be a lot of thing like that. But it's really watchable. So 3.5 is like gold for me. So I might rate things lower than most people.
Helen?
I'm going to give it a solid 4. I mean, if I was rating it personally, then I would probably give it a little bit higher. But yeah, a 4 for recommendability. And when I reviewed it on Netflix, I called it the comedy of the year. It is really, really funny. And it's a super, super easy rewatch for me on this one, which we'll come to that. But yeah, if you like Fincher and you haven't watched it yet and you've maybe been put off by some of the reviews, just give it a watch. It is pretty fun. It's not that deep.
I'm going to go for... It's one of those, because it's a Netflix film, it's easy to kind of, I'll get around to it kind of vibe. So this is the first time I've seen it. Like I say, I haven't seen Mank either, because again, it's one of those I'll get around to. It doesn't seem to really pull me. Like when Wake Up Dead Man comes out, well, I'm going to watch that in the cinema, 100%, for example. And when Hitman came out, I was straight onto that. So it was more interesting than I thought it was going to be, just because based on that 50 minutes. I was expecting a super ultra competent, which he is, of course, is his career till date. He's got a lot of money and he knows what he's doing. So this is the bot's job that sends things spiraling. But I thought I was going to watch a film of like unrivaled competence and him going from doing the Day of the Jackal almost, going from job to hit to hit to hit kind of thing, and showing how great they are. 3.9. Because it's a story about he spirals because his partner gets fridged. He gets caught up on blindside, so he goes out and kills everyone who conspired against him and her, basically. So it's a kind of traditional revenge story, isn't it? Essentially. So was it interesting? Yeah, 3.9. 3.9. Repeat viewing score. Alistair.
So this is where I feel like I'm going to be completely subjective and just say that this is a 5 in terms of rewatchability. Like, again, when I previously saw this, it was in a cinema. I didn't watch this on Netflix. I didn't rush to rewatch it on Netflix, and doing this podcast gave me the excuse to. And putting it on, like, yeah, this wasn't something that I just needed to, like, get round to revisiting. Like, this, like so many of Fincher's other movies, despite its sort of dark undertones, is very consistently funny, is just very consistently entertaining. Yeah, I could throw this on again tonight and equally enjoy myself.
Is that high? So what was your score there? 5?
Let's be sane and say a 4.7.
That's sanity for you. Stephen?
Oh dear. I find it incredibly unlikely I'll ever watch this film again.
How many times have you seen it before?
First time, I'd never even heard of it before, which is shame on me. But I can't think of a scenario where I would genuinely go out of my way to watch it again, except maybe if I was in a hotel or plane or something and it was on, because it's very watchable. If I was hankering for a Fassbender movie, I was hankering for a David Fincher movie, I was hankering for a movie about assassins, this wouldn't feature in my top 10 of any of those lists. But if I did watch it again, I think just to counter that, there's enough going on, there's enough interest, and also maybe with some memory, think, right, okay, yeah, I get that a little bit more now. So if I say 2.5, is that horrible?
It's your choice, man.
To David Fincher, yeah.
He's going to hunt down and kill you. Well, he'll get Fassbender out to kill you.
Yeah, well, I'll have to get a dominatrix in to stand in the way. Yeah.
I thought that's quite an interesting setup because it was a massive apartment block and his waiting on staff were there. And there's, he's just brought his dom in for the evening. They're all just waiting outside for him to finish.
Oh, the lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Helen?
I'm going to give it a solid 4. I watched it when it came out at the cinema. I hadn't watched it since because I was like, someone is going to pick this soon.
Did this play in the cinema?
Yeah, it was definitely on for at least 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, someone's going to pick it, and 2 years passed and no one was picking it.
Glad to be of service.
So now you picked it. Yay! But yeah, David Finch films are kind of like a comfort watch for me, so I could easily watch this again. If someone's like, do you want to watch it? I'd be like, yeah, I'll stick it on for fun.
He is quite prolific, actually, isn't he? For someone who takes so many takes. Because if he's at the same time he's working on Mindhunter, who's doing Mank and this, kind of in and around this. Obviously, he didn't. Is more not show running Mindhunter, but he's like the mastermind behind it. So it wasn't like in the weeds with it all. And now we already know a few things coming down the line with him. So he's not slow, is he? For such a deliberate filmmaker. So what was your score, Helen? I
4.
completely. You did say right at the start. I don't think I'm going to watch this again frequently. I haven't seen Panic Room, so I need to watch that before watching this. Yeah, again, it's just one of the things. It's on Netflix every now and again, but it's never there when I think, let's watch a like slightly heightened home invasion film. So I will go for 3 here. I'll watch it again, not sure when. Small screen score, Alistair.
Small screen score, I will say, I mean, this was made essentially by David Fincher thinking about the small screen rather than the big screen. So,
do you know anything about its development? Was it?
I mean, it falls under his Netflix deal, so like I imagine he knew that like any theatrical release it would get would be the sort of like the cursory 2 weeks in like 5 cinemas here and there. It got to play festivals as well, so it got that acclaim. It was seen, widely in that sense, but it was mostly designed to be seen on people's TVs, on people's laptops. And you know what? For a Netflix film, it looks pretty great. It definitely stands out from the sort of the typical sheen we have come to expect from a streaming original. It does. That David Fincher, when he's working in thriller mode, does have that sort of that cold, detached look that is distinctive. And even though he's working, knowing that this is for the small screen, there's no change there. It looks Mindhunter looked this cinematic. This still looks cinematic to me. So, yeah, doesn't lose anything in translation. I will say a 4.4.
Wow. Stephen?
I kind of wish I'd seen it at the cinema, because I think you're right, Alistair. I think this is cinematic quality. This doesn't feel like, I know it's not made for TV. That's probably a bit undermining what Netflix is, but it feels, there's nothing about it that made me feel this has been particularly made for the small screen. And I felt actually I may have even enjoyed it more in that kind of fully immersive cinematic experience. Was I too easily distracted by other things, which can happen when you watch things on TV? So
that's where we get to with the next score.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to give it a 4 because I think it absolutely holds up as a small screen watching experience.
Helen?
Yeah, David Fincher, I will always come out to the cinema for you. Kiss, kiss.
But how does that translate to here?
No, it was good. It was good watching the cinema. There was lots of people chuckling and laughing because it is a comedy. But yeah, likewise, I think it works pretty well on the small screen as well. But I will give it a 4 just because I still feel that even though it is made for Netflix, he didn't cut any corners. And yeah, I enjoyed watching it on the big screen.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not quite sure what you mean, Alice, in terms of like he made it know it's going to be on the TV. Maybe I think he still films everything. Even Mindhunter. The first time Mindhunter was released was London Film Festival. The first 2 episodes of that came out on LFF, and everyone was like, oh shit, it's going to be on the big screen, and everyone was excited about seeing that. I'm going to go for 3.5 because I think it would have been, just the experience would have been better. We haven't talked about, by the way, the people he kills along the route. I'm just going to, before we go to the engagement score, Tilda.
Yep.
Looking like a Q-tip.
A bit about the fight.
Yep.
Yeah. Charles Parnell, that was quite a dark... Yeah, because
really
that's funny
dark.
the way he died. Yeah. So, yeah, middle-aged man, should take 5 to 6 minutes. Fuck.
I mean, I think that's one of the other scenes that it's really funny because you're seeing in real time. He didn't just botch this hit at the start. He's actually quite bad as a hitman. Did he just get lucky up until this point? And that this entire code that he's gone by is just complete bluster and bullshit.
I don't think you get lucky enough to get 6 different storage units. That's skill.
Fair point.
First 1 or 2, maybe luck, but I think for 6, you need to have some skill. But yeah, it did seem a bit clumsy-ish. Like with that fight, I was like, what are you doing having a fight with someone in his own house? I mean, he had the Molotov cocktail prepared to like clean up any DNA, I presume, but I was still like, that's surely not what you do as an assassin. But maybe this is just, he's desperate and this is personal, so it's a different kind of set of things he's working by.
I was also surprised that he didn't know the rules of the game. That he didn't know if he fucked it up, there would be repercussions. We get that he's really allegedly hyper competent, and maybe that's part of the comedy, Helen, that you've been getting at. Maybe it just went straight over my head, but I was a bit surprised he was shocked that happened.
3.5 engagement score, Alistair.
So yeah, I think that opening 15 minutes just of narration, some people think this isn't a hitman thriller and turn off. For me, just that cold, sardonic...
Why would they not think it's his? He's got a massive sniper rifle. Why would they not think it's a hitman?
No, but they'd be thinking, why isn't he shooting? Why is all this
delayed
talking?
action.
You know, there's this entire thing about like Netflix retention rates and how like this insanely high % of people will shut off after, say, like 90 seconds to 2 minutes if it isn't what is advertised on the tin. And if they're getting talking instead of shooting, people will shut off. But for me, that's me leaning forward and locking in. Like, I find it hard to focus on anything else, you know, as soon as, you know, he's out laying out his worldview, laying out how he's so competent at this job that we're obviously primed to know that he's just going to be dreadful at. So yeah, for me, engagement score is... Again, I'm going to be high. I'm going to give it a 4.5 for engagement. I did not think about picking up my phone once. And again, who needs the big screen when I can be that engaged at home? Well, obviously I would love to see it on the big screen again, but I'm still big screen thinking at home.
For me, when someone says sniper film, I'm wholly anticipating long stretches of waiting, and that's where the tension builds up. So I was just jumping in because that's where you talked about it then, and feeling that people are going to dial off. But for me, if you're tuning in for a film that's going to be about a sniper, ostensibly, then I'm like, there's going to be a period of like waiting, and that's an interesting part of the genre, right? So, Stephen.
Okay, so I have a long history of falling asleep in films, especially to review them for podcasts and things like that, and spending multiple times watching a movie, either in parts or rewatching bits, not just falling asleep, but just sometimes just not engaged. That's the whole point of this score, right?
Yeah.
What I will say is I watched this from beginning to end without pausing, stopping, repeating, wondering what the hell had gone on. So it is, again, I'll just keep saying, it's really well made. It's really well acted. And that opening 15 minutes did bring me in. Both the Smiths and the more lo-fi soundtrack brought me in. There was a lot there. So yeah, I've got to give it a solid 4. I didn't think, oh, Jesus Christ, what am I watching here? And go to my phone and do something else, which I have done for a lot of movies recently. So yeah.
Do you think that might be the slightly episodic nature where it was, okay, let's on to the next hit? And
I do wonder, that was my biggest criticism of the movie, is that it feels like 6 comic books put together. Actually, in that regard, actually helped it. Because it is, right, now we're going to deal with this, now we're going to deal with this. So maybe that did help it.
It's like the journey to the big bad, but the big bad wasn't like...
Well, and indeed, the big bad was a bit of a letdown. It was just, there really wasn't a big bad. In fact, when we meet the guy that is to blame for it all, he seemed rather pathetic, didn't he? And not even worthy of a bullet.
Yeah, and he hadn't even thought twice about, anything that has been happening. This just wasn't a thought to him as well, which, again, is a really, really funny detail that the people who order these hits, as soon as they order them, that's the job done. They don't need to think about it again. It could ruin someone's life. They don't need to care.
Helen, engagement score.
I'm going to give it a 4.5. It's 2 hours, which is short by today's standards for some films. And yeah, there's enough little details in there to keep you entertained. Yeah, I had a lovely time.
I'm going to go for... Yeah, I didn't know where it's going to go. The botched hit at the start hooked me in and kept me there. So let's go for 4 as well. That gives us an overall score of... I felt it was going to be above 4, this. 3.88750.
So I did have a little look at where this would fall in our Fincher rankings. Anyone would like to guess where it sits on the...
Well, it's not number 1.
Fincher tables.
So just remind everyone what the Finchers are.
So we've covered Fight Club, Zodiac, Seven, The Social Network, and now The Killer. So Fight Club, we've already mentioned, is way ahead up there. So it's not going to come anywhere near that.
I assume that this is just comfortably the last. In my mind, the others are all above 4, right? Because we are talking exclusively top tier Fincher here.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's the 4th because I'm not overly in love with Zodiac, but that's a personal preference.
Well, Alistair, you are right. It is the bottom so far. But The Social Network only got 3.92, so I'm not sure what that dropped. Possibly the small screen. And then we have Zodiac 4.49, Seven on 4.57, and then Fight Club's 4.80, which is pretty close to perfect.
Yeah, because you got to remember, sometimes the best films, quote unquote, lose on our scoring system because of the small screen score. City of God is not in the top 20 because everyone was like, fuck, I want to watch this in the cinema. Still today, I've not watched it in the cinema, and every time I watch it, I'm like, fuck, I need to see this in the cinema. So it loses points on our scoring system. And I can imagine Fincher probably lost points to Social Network for that. Guys, Alistair, Stephen, can you tell us where we can find you guys online and say goodbye to the listeners?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at YesIt'sAlistair. And on Letterboxd.
And how are you spelling Alistair there? Because your name can be spelled a million ways.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm spelling it the right way, of course. So, in many ways to spell it, I'm spelling it the right way, which is ALISTAIR.
So, no D's, no double L's, no E's.
No, none of that nonsense. We're spelling it like it's meant to be spelled, okay? Yeah, and you can find me down there. And regular writing on Zavvi, the film stage, Awards Watch, Fake Visages, plenty of places. I'll share links on all my socials when I have pieces go live.
Stephen.
Okay, so you can find me on Letterboxd under the tag of Guelo Ramblings.
What?
So that's G-W-E-I-L-O, ramblings. Guelo means white ghost. It's a Cantonese term for a white person. And I am on Instagram at retro__1971. I did have a Twitter, but it got hacked and I decided I didn't give a shit.
Fair.
I watched it get hacked and I thought, you know what, bye-bye.
That's one way out.
My Facebook is similar. I got kicked out of Facebook because someone broke into it, and I was like,
yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, I just thought, do with it what you will, really.
Looking for those excuses to jump ship, and you've got the perfect one right there.
Hashtag less Nazis. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and obviously, if you just search for Asian Cinema Film Club on the usual podcast aggregators, you'll find us there.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure talking about another Fincher film.
Thanks for coming on. Bye.
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 Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes and Rockwood Audio's editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.